is Rebecca Schissel-Marshall with Whole Body Upgrade, a podcast to help you get unstuck, feel better, and have more energy. Let's get started. I want to begin by welcoming in the great directions of the East, the South, the West, the North. I welcome in the direction that is above and below and the direction that is within. I welcome in all of the helping, compassionate ancestors that are of the light and those beings, compassionate beings that surround us at all times. I call in the elements of air, of earth, of water, of fire. And I acknowledge that I'm on the land of the Creek in the Cherokee in what is now known as Athens, Georgia. Hello, dear ones. How are you? I'm doing really well. I recently taught a workshop to teach coaches about a healing process that I use called the seed moment healing. It was so much fun. I love it. I love teaching and I love this work. It's such a joy for me. To teach others how to bring an integrated energy and shamanic and coaching style into their own practices. Usually it's for individuals who are already coaches. And I find there are so many things that I've learned, that it doesn't even occur to me yet that other people might do it differently, that people don't know about it in their own lives. So that's kind of what this episode is about. Is a dear friend of mine asked me to write a letter to her daughter, and it inspired me to write about what other people might not know. And really, as I was writing this, I was thinking about my younger self, and I was thinking about how my younger self needed to hear all these things that I've learned along the way. And she was really struggling, and these are the things that she needed to hear. And what I find so often with many of the women that I work with is they come to me either not knowing some of these basic truths, just like I didn't as a young woman. And so I wanted to share them today as this episode. And as you listen, my encouragement is for you to allow this information to wash over you, to really sink in, not just through your intellectual, right, your mental being, but also your heart, your body. So these things that I'm going to go through are the top 10 things to remember as you go through life. These are kind of like some top 10 tips for you. So the very first one I want to start with is that there is nothing wrong with you. Everything you are and everything you do is just exactly as it should be, and often is a superpower that gets overlooked. You are amazing exactly as you are. You don't have to be productive. You don't have to reach a certain goal to earn your worth. You are worthy right now, and you always will be. Number 2, everyone has a voice inside their head that is critical and harsh. The good news is that you don't have to believe it. You don't have to believe that voice. I have it. Every single woman that I've met has it. Many men too. I don't know anyone who doesn't have this. If you hear the voice in your head saying something that you wouldn't tell your best friend, please don't pay it any attention. Pretend it is a small lizard on your shoulder. Pat its head and give it a grape, give it a cookie. Don't believe it. Number 3, taking care of yourself is not selfish. You deserve to be nourished, with good food, adequate sleep, movement that is enjoyable, and loving people that surround you. This is kind of a non-negotiable. Self-care is one of the best things you can do for yourself throughout your entire life. Now, self-care can look different from person to person, but it almost certainly doesn't include sugar or things that make you feel crappy the next day. All right? I'm not saying that there isn't a time or a place where you can't have a little bit of something like alcohol or sugar, but that's not self-care. Don't get those two confused. Which brings us to number 4. Cake is not self-care. Cake is not self-care. Many people think, and cake can be the actual cake or it can be other things. Many people think self-care is Netflix, sweets, wine, junk food, and it's just not. Much of society wants us to believe that self-care is about getting a treat, that you deserve this. But that's just a false story. Self-care is actually where you are able to nourish yourself. See number 3 that we just talked about. Number 5, life is full of surprises. And the thing about those surprises is that those surprises, they're circumstances, right? They're the facts, the things that happen in our lives. And your circumstances don't dictate how you feel. Your thoughts are what create how you feel. So the way that you think about those surprises, about those events in your life, will ultimately influence how you feel about it. Your thoughts lead to your feelings. And the good news is, this is the very good news that I wish I would have known when I was younger, is that you can change your thoughts. It just takes a little bit of practice to learn how. Number 6, don't be afraid of your emotions. Oh my goodness, don't be afraid of your emotions. We all have emotions. And going back to, there's nothing wrong with you. There is nothing wrong with feeling the wide range of emotions. And in fact, we should feel the wide range of emotions. We're not meant to be happy all the time. If you feel big emotions, positive or negative, there is nothing wrong with you. And there is nothing wrong with the situation, in fact. This is how life is. And when we understand that it's not a problem, that this is kind of the human existence, this is what happens, that can often diffuse some of the thoughts and some of the emotions that go along with us. What often makes us feel worse are those stories we're telling ourselves about the emotions, right? So, oh no, I'm feeling sad. And then I have a story about, well, what that means. I'll always be sad. I'll never get out of this. I'll never be happy again, right? So that's often what makes us feel worse. Number 7, emotions are meant to be felt. Okay, so don't be afraid of emotions. Number 6, we have those emotions, and emotions are meant to be felt. That's number 7. When you feel those big emotions come up, here's what I want you to do. I want you to ask yourself, where do I notice them in the body? So bring yourself back to your body. The more that we can feel emotions in the body, the more quickly those emotions can move through. And what I mean by move through is kind of like ride the wave, right? Feel them, notice them. Where do I feel them in my body? What does it feel like? Is it heavy? Is it tight? Is it bubbly? And that allows it to be like, yeah, okay, there it is. And there doesn't have to be a story with it then, right? If you notice that your emotions are not moving through, then you might want to go back and see what that critical voice in your head is saying. Remember those stories, right? If it's got a little story about what it means that you're feeling a big emotion, that can be part of it. And remember that thoughts can be changed. So if you have these big emotions that you're feeling, you notice that even when you feel them, there's still something there. Notice what the critical voice is saying. Those critical voices are really just thoughts in your head. And we can change those thoughts. Number 8, curiosity is a superpower. The more curious you can get about your circumstances, the things that are happening in your life, your emotions, the sensations you have in your body, the thoughts that you have, the less likely you are to be carried away by that story or the critical voice in your head, right? Often we're making something mean something else. But when we just get really curious, like, is it true? Or isn't that interesting? I wonder why I'm having such a big reaction to breaking that glass. Number 9, the breath is an anchor. Use it. No matter what, your breath is always available to you. You can always come back to the breath. When you feel the breath in the body and you notice the sensations that are present with the breath in the body, it provides you a little bit of space and often time, right? The time that you need, no matter what the situation and the circumstances may be. The breath is always with you and is an anchor to the present moment, right? Breathing in, breathing out. It's always changing and it's always available. And it will save you over and over again if you get in the habit of coming back to it. The story comes up, the critical voice comes up, you come back to the breath. Practice coming back to the breath when things are good. I want to say that again. Practice coming back to the breath when things are good, so that it'll be easy when things get tough, right? The more we practice noticing the feelings in our body, noticing the emotions that are there, feeling the breath and using that as an anchor, when things are either not so bad or good, it prepares us for when those surprises come, right? When things are tough in our lives. Number 10, you are surrounded by spirits who love you. We all have spirits or guides or angels that have volunteered to be with us during this life. It's like having a built-in team that that wants to support us in our life's missions. Does that mean that life will be easy just because we have these volunteers? Unfortunately, no, not usually. It does mean, though, that there is always someone there to support you and to ask for support, to ask for help, and to love you no matter what. In my perspective, the guides, ancestors, power animals, all of those entities are here in loving, compassionate support no matter what. Okay, my sweet friends, I hope these 10 things are helpful for you in your present self and maybe your younger self as well. I'm seeing you all in your own divine light and knowing that you are just an amazing being. Thank you so much for listening, and take good care of yourself. Thanks for joining me on this episode of Whole Body Upgrade. If you'd like to learn more about working with me, you can visit me on Facebook or Instagram or on my website, CenteredYou, that's CenteredYou.com. See you on the next episode of Whole Body Upgrade.